Right, the Hawkeye Firefly Q6 must be one of the easiest unboxings I've done in a while. Obviously you get the camera, you get USB charging lead, you get the manual, and as it's primarily designed as an FPV flying camera, you get the plug-in lead for the FPV. I know nothing about FPV flying, but I can see that this plugs in quite tidily at the back of the camera and sits unobtrusively on the back. So let's look at these individually. You've got the manual, as I say. It looks pretty thorough and it's in English and Chinese. One comment would be that it's designed to fit in that tiny little box, and so as you can see the print is pretty tiny too. I just about read it with my glasses on, but magnifying glass is helpful. Goes into all the functions, huge list of functions, and also tells you how to use the FPV cable and what it does, but it doesn't mean much to me because I don't fly FPV, although I do intend to mount it on a quadcopter and possibly model plane to test it that way. So let's take a look at the camera itself. Very small, compact, 64 grams weight. First thing you see is lots of ventilation holes, and in my continuous running test that I did last night I got about 50 minutes, which is just about what they claim, and it did get pretty warm, although of course if it was actually on a quadcopter or on a model aircraft it would get very good ventilation because it would be moving air. This end you've got micro SD slot up to 32 gig, I think it was, class 10 or above. You've got the HDMI out, which you could either plug into a TV, I'd say, or obviously you'd use it for the FPV flying. You've got a little reset hole there, and you've got these little red things which actually cover up LEDs that flash. On the front, a 120 degree wide angle lens. Battery is internal, and so if it needed replacing at some stage you would no doubt need to unscrew this to get into the case and replace it. A couple more LEDs on the front. These flash when it's recording and also when it's charging they're on. They suggest you turn off the camera when it's charging, it will charge more quickly. Right, on the top here you've got 4 buttons and you've got this little screen. Turn it on with a 1-second press and you'll see the Firefly symbol pop up, and this little screen which is telling me battery state, the field of view that I've got set at the moment, the time, the date, time, and that actually counts down and tells you the video when you're recording. Tells me I'm in 1080/60 and I'm in video mode. And just to show you what the buttons do, you've got power on off, 1 second on, 3 seconds off, scrolling buttons that let you scroll through menu, and that is the record button. So if I press now, you hear 1 beep, video's counting down, and you've got LEDs flashing very clearly to show you that it's recording. Not quite so easy to see these in daylight, and also the screen's not all that easy to see in daylight either unless you give it some shade. Press again, 3 beeps and it's turned off. 1 press of the mode button, I'm in camera mode. Press the little shutter release and you can hear the shutters going, and I'm in 16 megapixel settle and I've got 3372 capacity on my 32 gig card. So the scrolling buttons, scroll up and down and you're into the settings. I'm going to list them in the description, but it will do loop recording and will auto power on and off via the USB cable. It will do burst photos, time-lapse, periodic photos. You can change all kinds of settings. Oh, just to show you how you change settings, you scroll through. Let's say I want to change video size. That's showing me I'm in video and size there. Press the shutter button and I can scroll up and down through the various settings, which include 4K at 24 frames a second, which is a genuine 24 frames, VGA 720 at 120, 2.5K at 30, and so on, but it's all listed there. So if I want that particular one, I select 1080 at 60, press the shutter button again, and that's what I'm in, as you can see. Keep scrolling through. default. Most of my videos, the initial ones, are on default, which actually shows the date timestamp. You can of course turn the date stamp off. Very comprehensive menu with a great range of settings. Change the colour balance, change the oh, there you go, you can see there's gyro on and off. Remove fisheye, which I think may just crop the image a bit. Change the field of view, TV video out, date stamp, data rates. I know I'm whizzing through them, but there are quite a few settings there. You'll have to read through the specification. A couple of little observations while I was out and about. As I say, mentioned the screen's not all that easy to see. Lens looks a bit vulnerable on the front, which is why I've been actually keeping it in this glasses pocket thing to protect it when I've carried it around. A couple of other things. I mentioned it was a Hawkeye Firefly Q6. It's a kind of small brother or sister to the Firefly 6S or 5S. This weighs about 75 grams. This is 64 grams and a fair bit smaller really, and probably better shape for mounting on quads and model aircraft. This is also an FPV camera and it shares pretty much the same menu structure as this, although the 6S has a Wi-Fi app and this one doesn't, although you never know, they might introduce one at some point. Also slightly different field of view to the 6S. That's a 140 degree wide angle lens. This is a 120. But probably very similar internally. They both share the same chipset, which is an Overtech, and this has got the SONY Exmor sensor. I've made a few test clips, but I'm going to also try and incorporate some quadcopter clips, although they won't actually be FPV flown as such, but it'll give you an idea what it's like on a model aircraft or quad. I know a lot of people won't actually use it indoors, but I did do a low light test as well, just to see how it would perform. Most of my videos were at 1080, 60 frames a second. So let's take a look. So here we have the Firefly Q6 at 1080, 60 frames a second. Everything is set at default. Gyro is turned off. Bitrate medium, and so on. Alright, and it's time for the dark pub test. Well, hello.
Stranger, how are you?
Not bad, just testing this camera now. You may be on YouTube, given another week or two. Right, that'll do. And Tim over there. It's a really, yeah, it's a really nice dark pub. That's what. It's a really nice dark pub. It's a really, it does 4K actually at 24 frames a second, believe it or not, as well. 4K resolution. Another one I'm testing, Tim.
Testing.
It does 4K at 24 frames a second. This one. 4K.
Yeah, you want.
No, I know. It does 1080 at 60 though.
That's better.
And it does 120 at 720 at 1.